me get this right. I think I got it. Not sure. I think I do. Hope the lighting is good. Hey, I'm going live, everybody. I hope that stays. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining me tonight. So tonight, I'm doing a live broadcast. I want to discuss a topic called Not All Debts Are Created Equal. Reason why I want to talk about this subject is based on some of the emails that I have been getting. And I'm going to cover a lot of things when I do this broadcast. So I'm kind of thinking as I'm talking because I don't create notes. I kind of just, go off the head because the questions are the same and I kind of know where people are going. So if you see me looking at two things, I got YouTube over here. Thanks for joining me, YouTube. And then I got Facebook over here. And I thought Facebook was live, but I guess not. So I am going to get right into it. So like I was saying, a common question that I get, and this is a common thing that you all may experience as you're going through this process of rebuilding your credit. And, I'm just going to say this because I'm not going to assume people know who I am. I could be showing it on your feed and you may be wondering, okay, who is this lady? My name is Brown-Phillips and I wrote a best-selling book helping people learn how to rebuild their credit and get rid of debt collectors. And what makes my book so different is because my book really speaks from the standpoint of the debt collector. And what do I mean by that? Most people who have been exposed to how to rebuild their credit, they only know one piece of it, and they don't know the other piece. And that's why I'm doing this broadcast tonight, because what I've been noticing through the questions that I get, through the emails that I get, that individuals are only knowing one piece of the puzzle. And although that piece may be good, a lot of people are getting caught out there. And, what do I mean by getting caught out there? They are about to get sued, or they're not seeing the results that they want. Maybe they want their score to increase. And another thing that's common is now they've came across my information and they're like, well, what could I do next? So that's why I said I wanted to, call this Not All Debts Are Created Equal. Now, what do I mean by that? As you're going through the process of rebuilding your credit, credit and debt really are related to one another during the process. What do I mean by that? Many of you all may know or it's just assumed, hey, I want to rebuild my credit. So the first thing that a person thinks is that let me look at my credit report and see what I owe. So most people, they're thinking that, okay, I see my credit report and my credit report is saying these are the things that I have outstanding. They know that the end result is I want my score to increase. I want to get out of debt. But what they don't know is that there are pieces of the puzzle that are going to, one, be applied to debt elimination, and then there are pieces to the puzzle that apply to rebuilding your credit, which I mean credit score. Now, if you don't know this, and that's why I said not all debts are created equal. Debts are broken up into three parts. And tonight I'm going to show you. Now, like I said, I wrote a book. I actually talk about it on page 27, of my book. And I break out the three types of debts: current debts, past due debts, and charged off debts. Now you may be wondering, well, why do I need to know this? Like why do I need to know different types of debts? The reason why you need to know what different types of debts are, because most people have been given plain vanilla information. And what I mean by that is, I went into it in my last broadcast. Plain vanilla meaning, hey, if you want to increase your credit score, pay your debts off. That does play a part. Don't get me wrong. Your credit score is made up of a few things. I'm only going to talk about 2 tonight because that relates to the topic. Payment history, the length of time that you've had credit, and utilization. What is utilization? Okay, I got a question by Justin. Can you please offer some tips on how to start credit? Is a secure credit card from a local branch? All right, I'll touch on that because that's a very good point, because I've been seeing a lot of that questions have been asked, and thanks so much for the hearts on Facebook. And share the broadcast, please, because there's somebody who may need to hear this information. Going back to what I said, and I'm going to answer that, Justin, so please stay tuned. The reason why you need to know what these debts are is because, back to what I was saying about plain vanilla information, and I went into what your credit score is made of, payment history and utilization. Utilization has to do with the amount of debt you have. And so when you hear people say pay your debts off, they're talking about utilization. What do I mean by utilization? If you have a current debt, now a current debt is a debt that has not been defaulted, you are currently making payments, you may be past due, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. You can catch up. Now, that is considered possibly a current or past due debt, depending on the period of time. As long as you pay the debt within 30 days, it's a current debt. Once you go beyond 30 to 45 to 90, it becomes a past due debt. So when you hear a person say pay your debts off, they are talking about those debts, because those debts, I went into it in the last broadcast, are the debts that are with the original creditor. That could be Visa, MasterCard, American Express, store card, gas card, you name it, any type of card, your auto loan. So they are telling you to pay those debts off, because going back to utilization, now there's no certainty on it, but many people have been told, and this is true because I do give this advice, because people say, well, how much of my credit should I use? Goes back to utilization. I always say less than 20%, 20% being the max. Let's use easy math. You got a credit limit of $1,000, 20% of that is what? $200. So anything below $200, you have a low utilization score. You have a low utilization, which means that it doesn't really hinder your score. Things start to get shaky when you now have that $1,000 limit and you all the way at $980. And so there's only $20 credit limit left on your credit card. Your utilization is very high. That plays a part in your credit. It can also it can also have an effect on your score. So that's why you will hear people say, pay your debts off. See, they're not being very clear with telling you what debts to pay off. They're telling you those debts. Now, charged off debts, debts that belong to debt collectors, that's a whole different animal. And that's why I said most people only have the piece to one puzzle. And that's why I'm saying not all debts are created equal. Let's talk about debt collectors, because they dance to music of another tune. Now, what does that mean? The reason why I say it dance to the tune of another tune, because you have to examine those debts. And what happens is that people have been told, pay your debts off. So they get the credit report and they see the debt collector, because I can tell you right now, if a person has a very low score is anything below 600. Below 620. Most of that information is going to be regarding debt collectors. They're not going to be trade lines that are related to current or past due debts from your original creditor. Because The reason why I know this is because at the point that the debt gets charged off, that is what lowers your score. That's how you get that bad ding. Because it's now went from an original creditor who sold that account and now is going to at a charged off status. Those debts, like I said, have to be created separate from the debts that you hear people say, pay your debts off, pay your debts off. So going back to the example that I had, and Justin, if you can just hold off, because when I finish this information, I'm going to get to your questions, so please stay tuned. So going back to what I said, and I don't know what's going on, I don't know if you can, I don't know about YouTube, but I don't know, I see people on, but I don't know if I can get your question. So I'm going to go back to what I said. So the reason why I say charged off debts, debts that belong to debt, have to be created equal. Or created different. The reason why is that at the point that debt now becomes a debt to the that is owned by the debt collector, there's a whole, thank you so much for the hearts on Facebook, there's a whole nother relationship that is created. Now, what do I mean by a whole nother relationship? And that's why when people call me, people email me saying, hey, I got this debt from a debt collector, what should I do? This, that, and the other. It really depends. And the reason why I say it depends is because you have to, do you pay charged off? Do you pay? That's a good question too. Let me finish what I'm going to say, and I may answer it, but if I don't, I got a question on YouTube. Now I see apparently the questions come up. Okay. So do you pay a charged off debt? Now I'm going to put this disclaimer out. And I know people say, oh, you know when they send me an email. I know you say, but I'm just going to put it out there. I am not encouraging you all to not pay your debts. If you feel like in your heart of hearts you want to pay your debt, by all means, you go ahead and pay your debts. But what I'm sharing with you in terms of with charged off debts, there is a relationship that has been created. And let me explain this too. That's where debt validation comes in, because most of the questions that I get are, Lorelia, what is debt validation? How does it relate to my debt? How does it relate to the debt collector? This is how it relates, and I'm going to give you the very simple layman terms of the relationship. Imagine I borrowed money, or I loaned you money. Or should I say, I extended credit to you. I'm going to use it just like I've extended credit to you. So I gave you a credit card for $1,000. That credit card creates a contractual relationship. You need to know this, because some people don't understand what's happening. I think they kind of think, oh, I got a credit card, whoop-de-doo. No, at the point that someone gives you a credit card, remember, I'm giving you a credit card. Any other credit card company out there, ABC, XYZ, or what have you, a contractual agreement has been created. Based on that contractual agreement, it says, remember, I'm saying to you that you will pay me X amount of dollars until you pay it off. Interest rate is this. Okay. Things happen. You are unable to pay me. So, I'm calling you. Hey, Mary, what about that money I loaned you? You were supposed to pay me back every month. You're not paying me. Hey, Mary, you're supposed to pay. So I'm doing this for 120 days. Then I'm like, you know what? Mary is not going to pay me. She's not answering my calls. I've sent her letters. She's not responding. So then Jim comes to me. And me and Jim is talking, and I'm saying, you know what, Jim, I don't really, I have this debt outstanding that I loaned somebody some money. I extended some credit to them, and they're not paying me. And Jim says, well, you know what, Lorelia, I will pay you for that debt. Now, remember, I loaned out $1,000. But with interest and penalties, it may have ballooned to $1,200. Jim says, you know what, Lorelia, I buy that debt off of you, and then I will go to Mary and tell Mary that she owes me. Understand that relationship. You had the credit card with Visa. Visa's no longer able to get a hold of you. So now a debt collector comes to Visa and say, Visa, we'll take all that off your hands. will pay you for that debt and will go after that person and try to get that money. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. So now, Jim doesn't buy the debt dollar for dollar. So if I say Mary owes me $1,200, Jim's like, you know what, I'll buy it for $400. That's good. I get $400 cash in my hand, and I'm done with it. And let Jim go out there. And if he collects on it, that's profit to him, because he knows he's only paid $400 for it. So if he can get at least $800 from, from Mary, he's made a $400 profit. So now now Jim is calling Mary. Jim, this is you owe me $1,200, this, that, the other. Remind you, now the debt collector is calling you. The first thing you're going to think is, Jim ain't never extended me no credit. Who is Jim? And see, that's why you need to understand this relationship, because that is the relationship that is going on between you and the debt collector. You had the relationship with the original creditor, not with the debt collector. That's why I always say that these are laws that were created by the government. So the government says that a debt collector is supposed to provide you with a validity of the debt. What does that mean? That means that they are supposed to prove to you that they have the wherewithal to be able to collect on the debt. You as the consumer have that ability to ask them, show me proof. Show me proof that I'm supposed to give you the money. That is what debt validation is. Now I'm going to go over the charge off. Question was, do you pay a charge off? And it depends on what it is. There's a period of time that you all may have heard me say in other videos, SOL, statute of limitations. What is SOL? What's statute of limitations? There's a period of time of when a debt has to be collected on. Remind you, there's two things going on. Has the debt collector even validated the debt? Because if they have not even validated the debt, why are we talking about paying? They haven't even proved. Remember, Jim hasn't even proved to you that he created an agreement with Lorelia. He hasn't even given you that agreement. So with that being said, that's the same thing with you and the debt collector. Have they given you proof of that relationship? Now, for the person who just wants to pay it, like I said, by all means, if you want to pay your debt, by all means, you go ahead and do it. Pay your debt. But you need to know the statute of limitation, the period of time of when that debt got created. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. Thank you so much. The statute of limitations begins at the point that it gets charged off. So your credit report tells you, even if you don't even have all the information from, the original creditor, it will tell you that this debt got charged off on such and such date. That's when the clock begins. According to the FCRA, Fair Credit Reporting Act, this is not Loreliaism. This is based on the Fair Credit Reporting Act, not Loreliaism. They have 7 years to report that information. So remind you, if that debt got charged off in 2004, count 7 years. 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, 2010, 2011. 2011 is the longest that they can report that debt on your report. Now, you may be wondering, well, I got a whole bunch of debts that's older than that, and they're not going to take it off. You have to be proactive enough and have it removed. Now, let's go to, and I see that question, Justin, just give me 1 second. Regarding paying a debt collector, if you want to pay. Every state, this is where the state and federal laws are different. There's a certain period of time when a debt collector has the ability to collect on that debt. Thank you so much for the hearts and the thumbs up on Facebook. In New Jersey, state that I'm in. Okay, 1 second. With that question, because I got to answer Justice. They only have 6 years. 6 years to collect on. So now, if 7 years to report, 6 years to pay, use an example of 2004, 2010 is the longest, is 6 years from that date when they could collect on it. 2011 is reporting. If it's 2016, according to the law, why am I paying that debt? But get this, if I do pay it, let's just say for that person who's like, no, I put my John Hancocks on it, I'm going to pay it. The clock begins. So at the point that you decide that you're going to pay that debt, because remember, you've been told, pay your debts, pay your debts, pay your debts. The clock starts. So now all that, 2004 is when the debt created, the new statute of limitations begins at the point that you pay the debt. Why? Because you acknowledged it. So most of the time when people come to me, they've already paid the debt, and then they want to say, hey, I want to validate it. Can't do that. You've already paid it. You've already paid it. So now the statute of limitations starts in 2016, and that debt collector can now use 7 more years to report on it. So I hope that answered your question. Let me go. I'm more interested in learning how to properly leverage debt. Okay, one thing, because that's something totally separate, but I'll get there just because that has to do with your other question. They sent me a letter saying if I didn't reply. Okay, well, you know what? If they said that it will take a letter saying, well, that's because they're telling you that because you don't understand, Kumar. The thing is that you don't understand, because like I said, it's not Lorilla-ism. This is the law that has been created. And like I said, if they're telling you that, it's because you don't understand. And that's why I say that a large portion of the public don't understand. And so that's why they're stuck in this quagmire. Thank you for the thumbs up on YouTube of confusion, because they don't understand. And that's why debt collectors can take advantage of consumers, because they know they don't understand. So they'll tell you anything. What is considered validation? Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a letter that you send to the debt collector that states all the things that they are supposed to provide you. Yes, Enrique, that is true. You have to state to them the things that, suffice for a validation. Yes, that is true. Yeah. You can't just say, validate this debt, be on the phone, validate the debt. No. You want to send a letter stating what those items are. And, if you haven't heard, I did many videos showing you a credit software that I always recommend to clients. And it has over 200 letters. But, like I said, I always have a few free letters. So if you go to my website at www.yourmoneymentor.com, there I think I have about 3 free letters for you to use, Enrique. But understand, you must understand the rules of the engagement. Now let me go into what Justin said. Can you offer some tips on how to start credit? Now, he talked about a secured, card. That now, at the point that you have felt like, okay, things are looking good, yes, a secured card is the best card. What is a secured card? Secured means it is backed by you putting money into some skin into the game. So usually, wherever you bank, whether you bank at a regular bank or a credit union, a lot of times they will extend that opportunity to you. That is what I always recommend to clients once they decide that they want to get started with rebuilding credit, is that get a secured card. So what happens, like I said, you put the amount of money up. Some banks, it's all standard. Some may start 500,000, what have you. But keep in mind, even though it's your money and you're putting your skin into the game, you still have to pay it like a regular credit card. Because remember, they're going to report it. So what happens is, and thank you so much on Facebook for the hearts and everything, what's going to happen is that if you don't pay on time because you're thinking, this is my credit, this is my money, I can do what I want, you're going to end up getting some bad dings. No. The question was, if I pay an original debtor, does the collection agency have to remove it? No, 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 no. If you look at a broadcast I did before this one, at the point that the original creditor sells that account, their hands are done with it. They've already sold it. So a lot of times, thank you for the thumbs up. A lot of times, even if you go to the original creditor and say, hey, I want to talk, we work something out. A lot of times they'll tell you, that they'll say some type of language like that account is no longer in our office. When they give you that type of language, that means that it's been moved on. They've sold it. So you can't just say, hey, I don't want to deal with the debt collector. I want to deal with you. It's too late at the point that they sell it. So nah, that's not going to work. And actually, to be honest with you, it is easier, but you have to understand the law. It is so much easier to leverage the laws to go into your favor with dealing with a debt collector, especially when it comes to rebuilding your credit, than with the original creditor. That's why I said not all debts are created equal. Understand that relationship, because like I said, some people are just giving plain vanilla advice. Pay your debts off, and people don't know, because the worst thing that you want to do is pay a debt past the statute of limitations, because if you do that, now that debt collector has the ability to report it on your credit report. So then when you come across information like mine and you like, oh, well, I want to validate, what you gonna validate? They're gonna be like, well, the person paid it. So if you paid it, think about it. If you paid it, that means you acknowledging it's yours. Like, nobody's gonna pay a debt that's not theirs. Like, you can't say, okay, I paid that debt. Oh yeah, nah. Now prove to me that the debt ain't mine. No, it don't work like that. You've already agreed. Either you paid it off or you've already are in some payment arrangement. So Justin had another question. I'm more interested in how to properly leverage that opposed to paying it completely off. As long as you are financially responsible to do that, Justin, that's fine. I'm not the type of person who's going to say debt is bad. If you're financially responsible enough to leverage debt to be able to build things that you want to do, start a business, buy real estate, by all means, yes, you can do it. But the thing is that most of the time, a lot of people are in a situation where they got some fixing and rebuilding to do before they can get to that point. So Justin, if you pass the rebuilding stage, meaning things are straight on your end, and you know that you are financially responsible enough to do it, by all means do it. Because this is the other hiccup. And this is why I always say, your debtors, people who own debt, people who buy debt, they know your financial habits better than you do. That's why I always say, you file for bankruptcy, it's a good chance it may happen again. Because what happens is that you have never went to the source of why you gotten into that situation in the first place. There's only a very few select people who do get to that point where they've acknowledged, oh, okay, this is what happened. I'm going to take responsibility of it. I'm going to own that, and by all means, this is what I'm going to do to prevent it from happening. But if you don't never own your stuff, what happens is that you will revisit it again, and then you will end up filing for bankruptcy again.